The cell was dark enough to swallow sound, cold enough to freeze breath, and cruel enough to make a young man wish for death long before it came. Metallic walls pulsed faintly with the hum of alien machinery. Drops of something thick and black fell rhythmically from the ceiling and splashed on the stone beside him. The smell of mold and old blood mixed into a sour fog that coated the back of his throat. Cade lay slumped against the wall chains, digging so deep into his wrists that bone was visible through torn flesh. His skin shivered uncontrollably, though fever burned through him like wildfire. A deep cut traced from his jaw to his brow, angry, swollen, and leaking blackened blood with every heartbeat. He could no longer tell how many days he'd been here. He could only remember one thing with certainty. He had won the duel. He had earned his village's freedom. And yet, here he was, rotting in a cell while the Varkan monarch laughed somewhere above. Cade took a slow, trembling breath and reached again toward the iron key, the tiny bit of hope lying just an inch beyond his fingertips. His fingers brushed the grime-covered stone. They trembled violently, and then gave out. He collapsed back against the wall, breath shaking, pain flaring. One of the guards outside let out a dry chuckle. Still reaching? These parasites cling to life like vermin. The other guard spat. Let it keep trying. It'll die soon. They always do. Cade tried to tune out their voices, but they echoed inside his skull like knives. Everything inside him wanted to stop fighting. His body was failing. His vision blurred, fading in and out, each blink slower than the last. He whispered a hoarse apology to the people he'd sworn to save. I'm sorry. I failed you. His eyes drifted shut. His breathing slowed. The world around him dimmed. Until something impossible happened. The rattling torchlight froze mid-flicker. The dripping liquid froze mid-fall. Even the guards outside were locked in place, caught mid-breath, mid-motion, mid-thought. Silence swallowed the cell whole. Then a voice, deep, calm, almost mournful, filled the air. Would you surrender so quietly, child? Cade forced his eyes open. A tall, shadowy figure stood in front of him. Void black, shifting like smoke, yet solid and unmoving. He blinked once, and the shadow took shape. It became a teenage boy no older than him. Short dark hair, a torn shirt printed with bones. Artificial limbs that clicked softly as the figure sat down beside Cade, eyes that held centuries. The ferryman. Keeper of departed paths, watcher of souls. Cade lowered his gaze ashamed. I failed my people, he murmured. If my death pays the price, then let it. The ferryman studied him, taking in every wound, every scar, every shiver of pain. You did not fail, the entity said softly. You were deceived, betrayed, abandoned by those who feared your strength. Cade's fingers curled weakly. My strength wasn't enough. A faint, sorrowful smile touched the ferryman's face. Your flesh may be broken. Your mind may fracture under weight. No mortal should bear. But your spirit, child. He tilted his head. Your spirit still burns. He rose and extended his hand. A glowing hourglass materialized in his palm. The top was empty. Cade felt his breath stop. His time had run out. But instead of guiding him onward, the ferryman crushed the hourglass. Light exploded across the cell. The chains around Cade rattled violently, then snapped apart like brittle twigs. His collar split with a sharp ring. The shackles fell to the ground. Cold air surged back into Cade's lungs. The ferryman began to fade. Rise, Cade, he whispered. Rise, Revenant. And he was gone. Cade gasped violently. As breath returned choking on air he thought he'd never taste again. Pain still raged across his body, infection gnawing at his flesh, but something new stirred beneath his ribs. A spark. A fire. A purpose carved from agony. The cell door slid open. A Varkan guard stepped inside, waving a hand in disgust. Dead already? These things rot quickly. Cade stayed completely still. Another guard stepped forward. Grab it and haul it out, before it stinks up the tunnels. But when he reached for the collar, he stopped. Where's the lock? Cade's eyes snapped open. He lunged, not with strength, but with a desperation forged in betrayal. His hand ripped the guard's sidearm from its holster. The muzzle pressed against the creature's faceplate. Cade whispered through gritted teeth, I'm not dead. He fired. Plasma tore through the Varkan's skull. The second guard yelled, but Cade turned and fired again, the bolt punching through armor, flesh, and bone. Purple blood splattered across the cell floor. Cade staggered to his feet, chest heaving, the room tilted. Black spots swarmed his vision, but he stayed standing. He knelt beside the first corpse, fingers trembling as he stripped the Varkan's power armor. It was too large, too heavy, too alien. But he forced himself into it piece by piece. The helmet sealed with a hiss. "Just a little longer," he whispered. "I won't die here." He stepped forward and immediately fell face first onto the stone. Drunken nobles walking the corridor burst into laughter. "Look at that fool stumbling around. Drank too much blood wine probably." Their mockery burned into Cade's skull, fueling a rage he barely held down. Not yet. Not now. He pushed himself up. Pain screamed through his limbs, but he walked. Every step stabbed deeper into his torn flesh. Every breath burned against his ribs. But he moved through the corridors, hiding among armored soldiers, blending into the drunken crowd. He was invisible and unstoppable. The deeper he went, the quieter the halls became. The torches dimmed. Voices turned into distant echoes. Cade finally reached the massive wooden doors carved with Varkan symbols, an image of their monarch standing atop mountains of human corpses, his hands clenched inside the armor. "You lied to us," he whispered, hatred sharp enough to cut steel. He stepped forward and approached the guards. His heart hammered. His pulse roared. "And now, you'll answer for it. To be continued?"